Welcome back to another 6K Sports Sedan Challenge presented by Continental Tire, where today we'll finally fix everything that's wrong with the Lexus before moving on to that power adder. As you would have seen last episode, we fixed some small but important things, including that door actuator that wasn't working, the trunk actuator wasn't working, and we are continuing with that theme today where we're going to fix that steering column, which isn't telescoping. And I really dislike the seating position right now because I'm always kind of like stretched out to the wheel, which just isn't the right seating position to be in. And after we get that fixed, hopefully we will have a couple of VIPs dropping by to take care of a couple of small but important cosmetic upgrades along the way.
You can see we do have up and down on our steering wheel, but we don't have anything for telescoping. So that's why we're gonna have to fix all this. The common failure is one of the motors, it has plastic gears on it and it just kind of like disintegrates, and that's what happens. So we're gonna start with that. Now, I've pulled the bottom like trim underneath here and found the weirdest thing. What is going on here? It has a key button, which looks like will stay depressed or not depressed. I don't know, maybe that has something to do with the
smart key on off,
the smart
maybe?
key. Yeah, this I can understand, setting the TPMS. And then there's this adjustment knob here that really doesn't make any sense. It's obviously not a dimmer, but then you turn around and look at it here and it says ABS.
Weird.
Like,
it's got motorsports ABS, bro. I told you this was a sports sedan.
There's a Bosch motorsports
you.
system in here. You could just like tweak your ABS
Exactly. Dial it in for your tires and the track conditions.
Post in the comments, guys. Let us know what all this stuff is, because that's pretty cool. If this was in fact ABS sensitivity, that would be the coolest thing ever. This job reminds me of working on a BMW, Dave.
Yeah, it's a fussy one, I admit.
It was a fussy one. I had a ton of little connectors and clips and all these things to remove just this lower dash part, but I did get it out, and now we do have access to the little motor. And here's what we actually bought. For the price of a motor, we were able to purchase the entire column from LKQ. Our buddy Mike hooked us up because I think this would have been more expensive. He certainly gave us a discount on it, so Mike, thank you for that. And this is the motor that we need to replace. So it was just sitting down in this area right around here. So I'm gonna go swap this over and we shall see how it works. So I just swapped in the motor, and before I decided to put everything back together, we thought, why don't we test this to see if it works? And it does not work. The tilt goes up and down, or I'm sorry, yeah, the tilt goes up and down, but there's no telescoping action, which really sucks. Then we thought, well, maybe it's the joystick here. I plugged this guy in and we tested that. That didn't work. So we started digging in to look at this motor since we had a spare one. I took this thing apart. You can see it's like an electromagnetic motor. So there's no actual gears in here to brake, which means bad news for us because that means there's an issue somewhere else.
And we did check the fuse.
We did, yeah. Well, the fuse is linked to this tilt too, so the tilt wouldn't work if the fuse was blown. So we're kind of at a loss here as to what to try next. You know, we've replaced pretty much everything associated with that, or tested it, and it seems to be working. I'm refusing to give up on this, so I thought I would test this motor because actually, this is the one that came out of the column from LKQ. This plugs directly into our tilt. So theoretically, if this motor was working and if we had an error, you know, in the wiring or somewhere else, then this would work right now. And you can see it does not. Which begs the question, maybe, just maybe, we have another bad motor here. Because if I plug this back in here now, this works. Oh, so, man, maybe we just got bad luck and we've got another one of these burnt motors. We did adjust the column. As you can see, now it's further out. That was pretty simple. We just like threaded it and that's it. So I think we're gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna have to put this mess back together. But DP, this is certainly a lose, a huge lose for the Lexus here.
It was.
And to make matters worse, this is like a $300 US motor
To buy new,
to
yeah.
buy new. So if
Yeah.
we wanted to replace this with a new one, which is I think at this point our only option, unless we have one that we know works, that's a lot of money. So yeah, the Lexus is starting to pile on here. I don't like it so much.
This was a little BMW-ish, I'll admit.
Yeah. But wait, there's even more. So I've decided to take the tilt motor out of that column to test the wiring and everything. So it is hooked up right now. And if we go like this, wow, look at that, it does work. So we certainly do not have a wiring issue. At this point, I am leaning towards both motors being bad. So
Yeah,
that begs
it's got to be what it is, really. What else could it be at this point?
Exactly. So that begs the question: can I take the guts out of this one and swap them into the other one and possibly make it work? Oof. Well, swapping all that stuff over didn't prove to be too difficult. It was a little finicky, but everything is together. It is hooked up in there, and it kind of works. So it's making noise, and then see, it's like it went down. Now it's trying to spin. You can hear it.
Yeah.
The bearing is bad, I think. It's spinning. See, it's trying to move there.
Oh yeah.
See,
You can
it's.
see
So
moving a
you
little
gotta
bit.
like lube it up here. There it goes. See, now it's coming out. So now begs the question, DP, is it an issue? See, look at it. Now it's
like
going.
Freeze up once you get it working a bit. It does
Yeah,
seem
like-
like something's seizing up in there a little, right?
Look at it. Now it's going back and forth.
Yeah.
You kind of get that little squeak. So like, I'm gonna call this a win. It's just how long this is gonna last.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting to learn that these motors for tilt and telescope are basically internally the same.
Yeah, it was cool.
And there are no plastic gears in there that wear out like the internet had told me.
Yes.
Some guy went on an epic story about how, oh, these gears are junk, and in the old version, the plastic gears were metal and they don't wear out. These things are magnetic. There's no gears in them.
So you can see now it's like it stopped working. Now I'm like, maybe the internal, something's wrong in there. Like they're
worn out
unfortunately, there's
somehow.
something worn out.
Yeah.
But like it just doesn't make sense because all those internals were good. Anyways, we have spent way too much time on this. So we're just gonna move this back to the position that Dave wants it, and I'm just gonna put this all together, and that's it. Everything's back together. I wanted to stop and pause for a moment because we did figure out that this indeed does control the ABS system, and it is motorsports grade, so DP can dial that in, right, Dave?
I wish, buddy. I wish.
So we did some further research, and this actually controls the volume on the chime. So the button when you like take your key out and all that stuff, or the door chime, like it just controls that. And I think that's because, you know, some of the older people do wear hearing aids, and when they need to turn that stuff up, that's what they do.
We are going to deal with these horrible blue bulbs that somebody put in the car. I don't know why they would do that, but we reached out to our friends at Dorman who have a whole selection of LED bulbs, automotive bulbs, and these are the correct ones for this car. So we're going to swap these in pretty much everywhere we can in the interior, so we'll have consistent, you know, nice white lighting everywhere. Now we have a much more modern look in here, don't we, Pete, with these nice white LEDs.
Yeah, I like it.
Cleans up the look a lot. Certainly better than that blue light that was in there before. Got a couple of last minute additions to the car here. We're not adding Serge to the car, but he is a tint guy. You run a company called Tinted Solutions.
Yes.
And he works a lot with our buddy Cavill from Make It Shine, and he recommended fixing the tint. As you guys would have seen, we have some tint torn away on the rear door, and we have some torn away down in this corner, which you can't see right now because we've lowered the window, because Serge was looking at how faded the tint is, and you notice it's actually faded quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yes, it is.
And
Over the years, they changed the shade.
And is that just a quality issue in the tint material?
It is.
So we're going to replace this with some better stuff.
Yes.
We're going to use
we're
the
gonna,
Expel
We're going to
stuff,
put Expel ceramic tint on.
which is the good stuff. So
Yeah.
this might be a forever car for me, guys. So we want to do it right. Ta-da! We have some proper looking tint on this thing and it looks really good. And this is, we should mention, is a 20% tint?
20% XPEL XR Plus.
Okay.
Ceramic tint.
And the ceramic tint you were saying is better at heat rejection?
Yeah, it is. This one have 99.9% of the UV and heat rejection.
Okay.
Yeah, it's compared to the regular one, this one is the way to go.
So it's like me at a bar full of ladies. I get rejected 99.9% of the time. All right, well, it looks great, Serge. I really appreciate your time and effort. I'm stoked to have this thing looking even better. And actually, we have one more visitor who's going to help us fix a problem you've seen a little earlier. This may look familiar to some of you, and that's because we had it off before to vinyl wrap it. And as you guys saw, I just wasn't really happy with the color match. It wasn't really the piano black that the factory covers had. And our buddy Cavill here from Make It Shine said, wait a minute, I got something that'll fix that up. So you brought a sample in.
So we're using a product called Stack Dino Black. So it's basically like a tinted paint protection film. And the nice thing is that it looks exactly like paint. Obviously there's a bunch of fingerprints on it now, but when it's on the panel, it looks exactly like paint.
Yeah.
It's got that depth like that your original B-pillar has.
Yes.
So I figure let's put this on there and then you won't have that sort of lack of depth. Like one of the reasons it looked so bad was because you have this as your base, right? If you had black as your base, it wouldn't look as bad. So with this stuff on there, because it's solid all the way through, like you can peel it off and you can see even the backing is black. You're gonna get that depth.
Apparently Cavill knows how to do PPF better than Pete and I know how to do vinyl, because for one thing, that is the right color, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like a proper piano black.
I would imagine that when this car was brand new, it looked exactly like that.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
By the way, that's his cheap shot at our polishing job, because it doesn't look as good as the pillars.
No, man,
do.
I have to say the car looks pretty good.
It does,
the car
it
looks
does.
pretty good.
I
think
mean,
you
he's
guys
a
did
pro.
job.
You would have spent a week making this thing look perfect.
Hopefully not a week, but
We spent a day making it look 90%. We're like 90%.
I'd say for a day, this is really good.
It cleaned up well.
Yeah,
It was in good shape. So, but most importantly, this is a really great way to fix these, because
for sure.
A, it matches well, and B, it's a way cheaper solution than buying a replacement cover, which I just checked online is $170 per cover.
That's
So
crazy.
if you want to do 4 of those,
That's probably what you would pay is about 250-ish.
$250 Canadian per cover. Like $1,000 to do all 4 of those versus buying some quality black PPF like this and either doing it yourself or hiring a pro like you to do it, and you're going to be way ahead financially. So
yeah, and you get the benefit of a lot of hydrophobics and self-healing.
Yeah, show us the self-healing thing.
Yeah,
actually.
so essentially, like most modern top-coated films, they're self-healing. So like obviously as an extreme example, we have this wire brush here. So we're just gonna kind of just go over the film. And you can see we're putting in some decent marring. And this is probably going to simulate like a year of use.
Sure.
You know, where you're getting in and out of the car and the car's dirty.
If you have kids like me, then a week of use. But yeah.
Pretty much. And so I'm just going to take some heat. Obviously, this is simulating outdoors on a really hot day. And yeah.
Put on my glasses for this, because wow, that is amazing. It's completely cured.
Yeah.
It's like back to normal.
Yeah.
How does it do that? There's some magics happening there.
So film is basically like a thermoplastic, right? So when you hit it with heat, you're essentially kind of like resetting it in a way. I will point out that the film can only do this so many times.
Okay.
Whether that be 100, 200, 300, 400. So it's not like you should go about running a wire brush over it.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it won't do this for the service life unless you're being
kind to it. Sure.
Still kind to it.
Still,
So,
that's pretty amazing that it can do that.
Yeah, it's nice
that
to have
vinyl
that
we
peace
put
of
on
mind.
before. I mean, one scratch and it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
So wow, very impressive.
Yeah, and then if somebody were to try and key this, obviously you're talking like 8 to 9 mil thick versus vinyl, where it's only like 1.5 to 2 mil.
Okay.
So you're getting a lot of like scratch protection as well.
It's that thick, eh?
Yeah,
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Look what showed up in the mail, everyone. You can't tell yet, but this is actually a JDM cluster in kilometers per hour rather than miles per hour, because as you know, if you've been following along, this car is originally from Florida, so it has a mile per hour dash in it, and we're in Canada, where I wouldn't mind actually knowing how fast I'm going in kilometers per hour. It's actually there underneath the miles per hour, but it's just not as easy to read as it will be on this cluster. So we got to thinking, can we put a JDM cluster in? I think Pete shouted out on Instagram, does anyone have one of these? And turns out S2K and the Ant, which is a YouTube channel run by Anthony, thus the word ant, I think, had one of these and he sent it to us. So thank you very much. And if for any of you LS guys out there who are looking for technical content on YouTube for how to like do things like changing the door actuators or taking the door cards off, we actually used S2K and the Ant's videos to learn how to do these jobs, and it turns out he's the one who sent us this cluster. So LS guys, go check out his channel, throw him a subscribe, and thank him for helping everyone out in the community, because he's put a ton of great content up there, including installing a supercharger on his 3UZ, which we're not going to be using because he used that Blitz kit, which is super rare. Tom's kit, you're right, which is super rare and hard to find. Let's swap this in and see if it actually works as we would expect it to work with the harness out of this USDM car. I don't know. So cross your fingers, and hopefully I'll be rolling in KPH shortly here. So we swap it in there and it's working fine, but there is one small, actually two details that are interesting. One of which is the tach and the speedo are swapped. So the speedo is now on the left and the tach is now on the right, where on the USDM one it's the other way around. And this little info center down here on the bottom left, where you can see like how many kilometers or miles till the fuel is empty, and it also gives you like information about your brakes are worn or that kind of stuff. That is now in Japanese text. What is that called? Kanji? Is that what that text is called? In any case, I can't read that, so not ideal, although I only ever used it to see how far I was from empty. And there is of course a normal fuel gauge there too, so it's not a big deal, but, and it's super JDM. So if that's what you're going for, guys, you can have that, but man, I'm not sure. I think I'll leave it in for a little while, see how I like living with it. And if I can't deal with it, then I'll just swap this one back in. Well, that's a wrap on this one, everyone. We finally fixed all the little things that were driving me nuts with this car, and man, I think it looks amazing. It's amazing what a fresh tint and a few little details would do for the way the car looks, and I'm sure the way the car will drive. But before I get back to driving it, we are gonna be doing this, everybody. Boom. That, my friends, is called a Supercharger, and you're gonna see a whole bunch more of this in the next episode when we rebuild this and get ready to install it on the car. Welcome back to another... Welcome back. Now my voice is cracking. Welcome back to another